All right, so after a long waiting period, and this image is finally created, and it takes a lot, like around 10 minutes for me. So now let's look at this image. Okay, so it's created, and we have some owner information, the basic information of the image itself, and also we have a snapshot now created with 8 gig. The description is saying that it's created by image, okay, create image, and for the AMI this ID, okay, 787985, so which is this one. Okay, we can give it a name if you want. You can just give like a name for, like, ingredient image. Okay, and then here we can just use this image, now start launching instance from it. Okay, so it's just a image, and we can just directly using this image to create EC2 instance. Okay, because they're identical. You can think of it's just a software package. We just install it. Okay, and but it's just include all the operating system information and hardware information. You can just directly create server from this image. But we don't want this. Okay, we want to create an auto-scaling group. So we need to firstly create a launch template. Here, okay, in the launch template, and we can give its launch template name like ingredient auto-scaling group, okay, and template, and then description, I'll skip it, and check this auto-scaling guidance so that it will make sure our the template, okay, is used for auto-scaling. Okay, and then here we can choose the AMIs, and my AMI owned by me, and then this is the only one we have here. Okay, so this is the one we give SCP demo auto-scaling group image, and which is this one, right? And then next, the instance type. So here we need to make sure that we choose a free tier. Okay, so this is just a template. When we create auto-scaling group, we can override this information. Okay, we can select a different instance type, but if it comes with a template, then we can choose to use the default, right, the template one. And the key, we can just to use our own key, or you can decide to not use any key, because if you use auto-scaling group, the instances are managed by the service, not by, we don't have to touch the server itself. But we can still log into the server if we want to do something. Network configuration, okay, so the subnet, okay, what kind of network we want to deploy. This, we don't have to put anything here at this moment, because because if we fix it, then it doesn't make much sense, right? Because we can decide which network to be placed into, okay, for these instances. So firewall, this one we need to change it. Okay, let's create a new auto-scaling group, and we can just give it a name. Make sure that the VPC is selected to the correct one. Okay, so we want this one, and to create the auto-scaling security group in this VPC, because this auto security group cannot be shared between VPCs. Okay, so it's just tied to the VPC. And here we can just search ingredient Docker auto-scaling group node security group. Okay, if you want, you can just use hyphen to just delimit the words. Okay, and everything goes well, then we can add some rules to this instances. Okay, so for instance, like I want to open to port 22, okay, and from my IP address, and then also I want to open port 80, okay, and then from my IP address. Okay, so if you want a public website, of course you need to change it to anywhere, okay, or some particular CIDR blocks here. And then also we need 8080 because we have a what's that called? The REST API. Okay, sorry, I just lost. But for here, okay, because the instances, this is the security group we're gonna be applying to this here. Okay, if we open it to my IP address, what's gonna happen is, I'm here, right? So if I open to here, because I'm not gonna directly access to it, so it doesn't make sense, right? In this case, if you really look at this chart, the load balancer actually is gonna access to my ports. Okay, so basically I should only allow the load balancer to access my servers instead of the client right? So here you can see those two are not making any sense. Okay, so if you realize what I'm talking about, and let's just remove them and then just only keep 22 for now. Even this one doesn't work because our EC2 instances may not have public net IP address, right? So even this one we can remove. So just like leave it as blank at this moment. We can change it later on after we create our instances. Okay, hard drive or storage, we just leave it as this one. Okay, and then tags, no tags. Yeah, I keep using hard drive. Actually, this is a kind of like hard drive, but it's we call it a storage. Okay, or EBS volumes. And then we can just create the description. Okay, is required. So just like use the by nodes. Okay, and then launch. Okay, so this one will be fast. Okay, so immediately we'll have this launch template, and then we can again create instances. Okay, from this launch template. Okay, like similarly like the image, we can create a template. We can create an instance from the image. We can create the template also. Create an instance from the template. Okay, but now we don't want to do either of them. We want the AutoScaling service to create instance. Okay, on behalf of us to automatically start many servers there. All right, and now let's take a look at the AutoScaling service. Okay, so that's the last part. Go to the bottom here. Okay, that's the last one, and then we can just click on create AutoScaling group. And here we just need to give it a name. Okay, we can just call it the ingredient server. Okay, ingredient demo AutoScaling group. And the launch template, as you can see here, right? This is why we've in the end we created the AutoScaling, because it asks us to select a template. Without template, we cannot proceed. So that's why the order is backward. First image, then launch template, then AutoScaling group, then load balancer. Okay, and now we choose the version. We only have one version. We can select the latest. At this moment, they are the same. But if we create a new version, then this new version will be automatically applied to this AutoScaling group. Okay, everything we can keep it as it is. We can go to the next, and then we select the network. Okay, so here is where we need to select which network you want to create your servers and load balancers. We select our 2AZ one. Okay, so if you want to simplify your effort, you can use the default one for everything. Okay, for all the previous tutorial, if you don't like to create a new VPC, use the default one, but it's not a recommended behavior. Okay, so you can use the default one to simplify and to just test, but in the future, in any project, you will have your own VPCs. Okay, and then availability zones and subnet, let's just select all of them. We have two availability zones, and then we have 4 subnet, 2 each. Okay, let's select them all so that the nodes or the servers will be deployed to all of them. Okay, but if you want, you can just only select the private ones so that all the backend server are only deployed in the private network. Okay, but it doesn't matter because when the ECS will not assign public IP address to the server, so there's no way, even it's in the public network, that they don't have public IP address. But anyways, let's now just select 4 of them. And the instance type requirement, we just use the default one. Okay, T2 micro. And the next stage is to select a load balancer. Okay, so here we need to decide how we're gonna configure the load balancer here. Okay, so here, this one. We can use an existing one, or we can create a new one, or we don't have to use any one. So those are the 3 options. The load balancer is important because now we're gonna create an unknown number of EC2 instances. We don't have the public IP address. All right, and then we need a port, right? We need a endpoint for the user to access. You cannot just randomly give the user some IP address. Say, hey, today you use this IP address, tomorrow you use that IP address. Those are the 5 IP addresses we here. Next hour, we're gonna have another 2 IP address available for you, right? So that doesn't make sense. You need a load balancer to distribute the traffic to different servers. Right, so that's why we need a load balancer. And load balancer is not auto scaling thing, right? It is a general terminology, so we can use load balancer anywhere if you have multiple different servers, or you just want to expose your API from one single point. So the ALB or ELB is a service inside AWS. Here we integrate it together so that we can create load balancers with the AutoScaling group. Okay, so we can have this select existing ones or create a new one. Since we don't have any one, so we can just create a new one, and then we can select, like, let's see, for now HTTP load balancer. Okay, and then we give a load balancer name. Let's just call it a load balancer, and it is gonna be public facing. Okay, we want to let the public to access this load balancer. Okay, and we choose the public subnet. Okay, make sure, because now this load balancer will be deployed to these two subnets, and the load balancer is public facing, so make sure they are in the public subnet. Okay, so I think they already said that here, public subnet are available for selection. Okay, for the DNS or resolution only. And the listener and the routing. Okay, so we can have a load balancer that requires security listener or multiple listeners. You can configure from the load balancer later on if you want. Okay, you don't have to do it right now. But the target group is also a concept, okay, in the load balancer service. So the load balancer need to pointing to one or more target groups in order to distribute the traffic. Okay, so inside the target group we have a managed instances there. Okay, so you can think of, we have a target group and then we have a lot of targets inside it, and then the load balancer will just load balance the traffic depends on some criteria among the target group here. Okay, this is the target group concept. It's very similar to auto scaling group. So those two at this moment they are overlapping, right? So auto scaling group automatically place all those instances in the group, and the target group will used by the load balancer to distribute the traffics. Okay, so that is to say, like, if the auto scaling group create an instance outside of the target group, what's gonna happen is the load balancer won't recognize it, right? So that we have to make sure those are two things together. Okay, target group, just make a name like that, and then we just use port 80 for now, okay, so that we can test maybe the hello world first. Okay, the Nginx server, and here with the health checks. Okay, so it's, we can use EC2's health check, or we can use ELB's health check together. Okay, so the health check grace period, okay, is 300 seconds. It's too long. Let's change it to maybe 60 seconds. Okay, and the monitor, let's just keep it as unchecked now. Okay, and then we can go to the next page, and then group size. So this is where we can define like how many instances we need. Okay, for here we desire 1, minimum 1, maximum, let's just change it to 4, for example. Okay, so like no matter how busy you are, maximally you can create 4 instances or 4 servers. Okay, and we just, the minimum is 1, and then we desire 1, so it means that like only there should be always 1 server running there. Okay, but we can increase it to 4, but minimum is 1. Okay, desire is 1. So this is the rule. And also we have a target tracking scaling policy. Okay, so we don't have to use it, so that we can manually change the capacity, like 1 server, 2 servers, 3 servers, or we can use this measurement. Okay, so to track the target CPU usage, average network in out, or the count per request. Okay, so sorry, the request count per target, like the number of HTTP requests to the server. So let's see, the CPU utilization average is greater than 80, for example, and the instance need 300 seconds warm up before including in matrix. Okay. Right, and then the last one is the scale in protection. Okay, so it's, if protect from scale in is enabled, newly launched instance will be protected from scale in by default. Okay, so means that like it won't be shut down. This is the if you want your server to be there, and after scale in, then the server will still be available. You can still log in to see what's going on. Okay, why it's shut down, things like that. notifications. So this here, the notifications, we don't need to add anything. SNS we didn't talk about yet. Okay, so we can just give all those different events notification. Okay, we can just have a topic, and then this SNS will send out email and SMS to the user, not client. Okay, so the team, maybe the DevOps engineers. Okay, so to let them know the server is scaled up and down, or in and out. Okay. All right, and then we just leave it blank. Okay, and the next, so add text, no text, next. Review, everything should be fine. Recap it. So because after we do this, and it will start creating servers. Okay, ingredient demo ESG. This is the name and the launch template. Okay, it looks okay. And the network, we have four subnets. Load balancer, we're gonna create a load balancer, and then a health check. Okay, every 60 seconds grace period for the health check. So wait for 6. We're gonna have more fine-grained tune of this health check later on, but for now everything good, and then we can click on create auto-scaling group, and then it will take some time for the auto-scaling group to be created, because it will start creating the desired instances. It will start creating the load balancers. Okay, and also it will start checking the health, everything. So after everything is ready, then we should be able to see our project up and running. And since it's EC2 based, so we will see there should be a EC2 instance created, okay, soon in here. So, but it will take some time. So if we refresh, okay, now you can see now it's coming, right? So this is the EC2 instance. It's based on our desired number. If we have a desired 4 instance, it will start creating 4 instances. Okay, each of the instance will follow the image that we created before, following our example EC2, right? This one we manually set it up, and then we create a AMI, set it there, and then auto-scaling will start populating the new servers, okay, for us. And inside this each server, we have a Docker installed, and the Docker will start the containers for our Nginx website and also for our API. Okay, we put 2 containers in each of this instance, and the load balancer will start load balancing the request. Okay, load balancing the request to the instances, and we will pause the video, and after everything is initialized, then we can resume.